So thank you very much for your nicely introduction. And let's start. I have a lot of content for you and a lot of new information and combination with compliance tools like communication compliance. And I have a view today into these tools and also at the beginning and a lot of contracts. But let's start and talk about Microsoft Office 365 and Yammer. At first, the tradition on this conference, please mark your calendar for the next Microsoft 365 conference, hopefully in Las Vegas, so we can meet in person next year. Here you see all of the sponsors, for example, AvePoint and Swoop, and also Velo Intranet and Persistence and CoreView. So please have a view at the sponsors and ask them and have a view on their websites. Next one, and this is some of you can win a raffle and you can win a VR set. So please type in the URL and make a raffle and be a part of the raffle and answer the question. And next time we see us in VR and the VR conference with Outer Space. So win a raffle, join the raffle and win the VR glasses. So introduce myself. I have 2 slides because of all of these icons. Okay. Yeah, my name is Raphael Koellner. I'm executive consultant at BDO Digital. That's a company, comes from Germany and is a part of a BDO worldwide concern. And we have more than 1,650 locations worldwide where you can come to us and work with us about IT consulting and also legal and also auditing, for example, in economy and economy consulting like this. So a huge company with a lot of main topics. I'm also one of the 12 Microsoft regional directors in this conference and one of the 100 worldwide. And I'm also Microsoft MVP. I will show you a little bit later and talk about. And I'm a community guy from Cologne and also international speaker like in this conference or on Ignite Build or Tech Ready or on the Ignite the Tour. You can meet me and also on some other community conferences. You can talk and talk with me. If you are in Cologne, please ping me and we can drink a beer or drink some or eat some local food. So my definitely slide is here. Here I add my link, my Twitter. Also, you can add me on LinkedIn or you see my blog and my email address and all of the websites of the community I'm hosted and also my podcast. And I hope we see us, all of us, for example, at the SharePoint conferences, virtual or in person, in the next year, in 2022. So this is more than enough for the introduction. So make a screenshot and you can ping me on Twitter or send me an email and have a look at my blog. One more, and this is a very good thing. It's important also for me. Please have a look at the International Medical Corps and make a donation there. Have a look at the websites. That's what I did yesterday. And have a look here and joining the charity fund. So let's start with the agenda. I'm creating agenda for the beginning introduction, a little bit about a year of Yammer and what is Yammer about, and then we have a look at the roadmaps from Ignite 2018, 2019, and now what we have today in H1 2020. So we have an overview about the roadmap of Yammer. Then we have a look in the contracts. That's one of the main parts in compliance and also in the new Yammer native mode, or new it was at the beginning of this year, the native mode, the compliance tools and Yammer itself and how it works today if you migrate with a native mode and also if you jump in the new Yammer in Teams and also in your Yammer web part and also with your mobile app. And we have a lot of demos and best practice in this session. So yeah, let's start and talk about it. And I'm moving forward, and I hope it works. I take this, my PowerPoint. Yeah, it works. So let's start with a little introduction. And I hope all of you remember this slide. It was on Ignite 2018, and they announced here we have now the Yammer as an outer loop for communication outside and across your organization and outside of your organization, like with external Yammer networks or external Yammer groups. And yes, it called groups 2018. And then we have on the inner loop Microsoft Teams. We have SharePoint for our file storage. There on these slides is a little bit missing. Yeah, it was possible to have SharePoint as a file storage in Yammer, but not as a default file storage. We have here our own Yammer storage system. And the default one was the Yammer storage system, mainly in the US based. So that was 2018. And if we have a look and start the journey in 2018, we will see a lot of news and yeah, that we have Yammer today at the end of this journey, and the Yammer will be the most compliant and the most secure tool because of the basement of Office 365 tools you see here, like SharePoint, Exchange Online, Microsoft 365 groups, and always we have to look at the contracts. But let's start with the year of Yammer 2020. I created for you a slide about a little bit talking about we starting in 2018. We see some news in 2019 and the announcement of the new year of Yammer with the announcement of a combination with Microsoft Teams, with a change from Yammer groups to Yammer communities, and a change of the using of Yammer. It's more the community part of an internal and also external, but mainly internal community. It's like if you, yeah, for me, Yammer is now more. Before it was more the outer loop, the communication outside of the company, but this shifting more and more into Microsoft Teams, and now Yammer is more an internal community about different topics, about mainly topics across the company. And for me, if I have a look, it's an example out of the real life. For me, it's if we go to lunch in the noon time, like now in this minute, my colleagues go to lunch, and in this time you meet other colleagues out of the building, out of your company, and you're meeting them and talking with them. So for me, Yammer is a part of the lunchtime communication in an way you have in the digital communication as a portal. So that's what I like, and that's a little bit of the evolution of Yammer. And then we have 2020 and today. So let's have a look. Yes, it was announced 2019, the year of Yammer, with the big UI changes and also a lot of compliance changes. You see the first change is a mobile app update, then the next mobile app update, you see more and more changes, then you see the Teams, Microsoft Teams integration, and today you can join the preview and you have a GA, so you can have an opt-in to the new Yammer, or you can configure that the new Yammer is your default network, or you stay with the old UI. But yeah, we will talk about today a little bit why the new Yammer is definitely better than the old one, and why you have to migrate faster as you can to the new Yammer. And one of the tools you see here on this slide is possible with the old Yammer 2, and this is one of my recommendations to do it at first. It's a native mode. We will talk a little bit later more deeply about the native mode and the migration. The native mode is in, yeah, we will talk about a little bit later. Don't talk it at this overview slide. Then one of the big parts from my customer and the very welcome things is that Yammer is possible to host it in Europe, in the European region. And this was one of the main big things all of the customer like, but not for the old Yammer environments. There's a move program from 10K users plus. Microsoft will move the Yammer environment from the US to EU. I make 3 of these movements. There's only one company, a Microsoft partner, that moves the Yammer environment from the US to the European region. All of the new tenants, for example, you start with the new tenants at the 6th of December. You will get, for example, in Germany, the new German region, and you can start there with Office 365, and then you will get Yammer from Dublin out of the European region and directly there. So the most of the companies start with a new Yammer region, or the most that I know start with a new Yammer region and don't migrate because they are too small or they don't want to migrate and start with a new Yammer region and the new concept of communities. So they have a clean Yammer environment and start with a new Yammer environment. So that's a sum of my recommendations. Yes, you can use Yammer, and yes, you can use Yammer out of Europe, out of the European region. Which storage you have, and all of this we will have a slide a little bit later. One slide from Ignite 2019, and a slide from Michael out of the Yammer team, and I like it very much because this is one of the slides that shows the shift from the old Yammer to the new Yammer, and also the shift in the usage of Yammer. So we have leadership engagement. We have also company-wide communication. That is the community knowledge sharing. That what I like, but because that's what I'm creating, and that's why I'm creating a lot of communities. And now I can create much better communities in the company because of the combination of Yammer communities in Teams, and also the new UI, which is very fresh and modern. And works, for example, with sensitivity labeling. This is a little hint in the future of the session. And the experience for me is much better. For example, also the notifications you will get via email, you can answer in the email directly to a Yammer post, or you can shift information from Teams to Yammer and back. And the new, not very new, but the newest web part of Yammer as a part of the intelligence modern internet is very good, and I love this combination. And yeah, it's cross on mobile. So I told you the first updates you will see in the Yammer mobile app. And for example, I get yesterday one new Yammer update on mobile for iOS, and now I see nearly the same UI. It's only a little bit different on 2 stages, but that's not very important. So you see the same UI and the same classification of labeling. Next hint for the future of my session of Yammer and Yammer communities across Microsoft 365, from Teams to SharePoint to Outlook, on what it is in communication with security and compliance. We will talk a little bit later, but this is a baseline, and this is what I like, these baseline security. If you configure a tool, for example, for Microsoft Teams or for SharePoint in part of retention, for example, it's the same for Yammer, and that's the same tool, the same tool set you can use. And what I like is out of a contract view, you have Yammer as a core tool, like Teams, SharePoint, and also Exchange in your Office 365 environment. And with the native mode, everything of this comes together. And with the new UI, you have the new UI with all of the Office 365 tools and the contracts in the background. So you can be compliant today with Yammer a little bit better than before. for example, with zero trust concepts you can use with Yammer now, and the part of conditional access, for example, I will show you a little bit later. So this is a new Yammer. And for me, the slide can be bigger and bigger because the part on the ground or on the foot here, the enterprise grade security, privacy, and compliance is much better than before. It's also for the European customer. So I don't see really a very big issue today. I have some small hints. You have to talk about it, but at Yammer as itself, you can use today and you can use in a compliant way. So let's have a look a little bit faster about this because I want to show you a lot of, but you will get these slides too. So I have a look about the roadmaps. This is a roadmap starting on Ignite 2018. And if you have a look, that was the first start with a journey of Yammer in the part of Office 365, starting with live events, starting with the in geolocation in the EU customer. So that for new tenants, it was one of the main requested things from my customer, for example, and also starting with the compliance tools like e-discovery capabilities and Yammer. So this is 2018, 2 years ago. And if we have a look at this long journey, we can have a look at the slide from Ignite 2019. So the same slide now out of Ignite 2019, we see all of this, what the Yammer team announced. We have green, we are on green, we're on green level, so it works. We are in preview with e-discovery, and in 2019, we have the in geolocation. We have an option to move Yammer from US, if you have an Yammer environment today, from US to EU, so that's also possible. And what is a little bit missing on this slide, yes, it is possible. You have the right contracts. Yammer is located in Azure data centers in Azure regions, and you have all of the contracts you needed, and you have also additional contracts you can sign with Microsoft, for example, for special secret jobs like lawyers and doctors or like this. So this is one of the part I can say additional to this slide. And if you have a look, and I created my own slide for now, we have the year of Yammer slide, a little bit in the roadmap style. So you have today the Yammer preview, and it's GA today with the opt-in for the new Yammer, or you can say only the new Yammer UI and the new Yammer experience. Is there a big change and out of the view of compliance if you have the old UI or the new UI? Not a really big. I will show you a screenshot of both environments. For me, the new one is a little bit better for your employees or for your colleagues and also for your customer, because it's a modern and clear view on the label of a Yammer community, on a classification of a Yammer community, and you can use sensitivity labeling. That's also possible for the old UI, but if you have all of the classification and labeling of Yammer which works very stable, then you choose the new Yammer UI. In the old UI, I have some issues sometimes, and it's not really updated the label. If I switch the label, for example, in the new Yammer, it works really fine. So this is one of the arguments how to that you can switch to the new Yammer. And what I like is the Yammer tab or the Yammer app in Microsoft Teams. So you can switch between Microsoft Teams groups and Yammer communities. So you then don't have to open a second app, for example. For the most of the daily work, the Yammer tab in Microsoft Teams is enough. So you don't need to roll out the Yammer app. Additionally, for me today, I'm a power worker. I need the Yammer app too. And so yeah, this is one of the options I like to. And the Yammer Move program is working today. You have to wait. So I have one of the customer. I have to wait, and I have a little bit sneak preview that more and more customers are eligible today for the Move program. So before I told you you need 10K of licensing, so 10K of employees in your company to use the Move program. Now it's a little bit less. I don't know the exact number in this moment, but you can ask Microsoft and can open a ticket, for example, and ask to join the Move program, and then it is possible. And one more big thing is some of the Yammer features that don't work in Europe in the last year is now possible and works. For example, the cross-tenant Yammer communication. So if you are in a Yammer group of another company and all of this, so this is for me better than in Microsoft Teams. So this is also possible. So from Move program to the experience really better. And yeah, what is new for every new tenant you create? And I create a lot of tenants in the last weeks. You have by default Yammer in the EU location. And the compliance tools are available. And the last one I added because of the last Twitter and interviews of the podcast with Ragnar and Christoph. And Christoph is the owner, or the owner of the compliance communication tool, and it's available for Yammer too. And this is one of the great announcements out of the last weeks, so that the communication compliance tool is not only available for Microsoft Teams, it's also available for Yammer and Yammer communities. And that's what I definitely like. And one of the questions I got in every session I talked about Yammer is, will we get Yammer in Switzerland, or will we get Yammer in France, or will we get Yammer in Germany? So I have a look on the roadmap. So it's not on the roadmap today. Maybe if we have a lot of customers there that said, okay, we need the same Yammer environment in Dublin, also in Germany and Switzerland, I don't want to say no. Maybe it works. It's the same like Teams. At the beginning, no one says that Microsoft Teams will be available in Europe. Then it's available in Europe. Then everyone says no, in Germany it don't want to be available with the old closed cloud, the government cloud. No, it's not available. Yeah, it's not available. But Microsoft created new data center, and now it's available. Microsoft Teams also in Germany, in Switzerland, in France. It will be available in Spain in the new data center, in Italy. So let's have a view on Yammer. If we have more and more customers they want, maybe we can talk with the product group and they will move. But today it is Dublin, Amsterdam, so it's mainly European region where we can use Yammer. But this is a very big step. If you have a look at the new Yammer, you see it here. You see it here, Yammer with the company icon and the new UI. I hope every one of you knows and the new Yammer before. For example, one of the sessions in this conference, for example, from Martina Grom. She has a very great session about communicate and use Yammer in the crisis and crisis communication. So I hope you see the UI. So we switch a little bit back. So we have GA. Yeah, now we have GA for the new Yammer new UI, so you can use it. How you proceed and how you proceed in a compliant way to the new Yammer. For me, I recommend start with the Yammer native mode. So start with the migration from Yammer to the Yammer native mode, and then opt in to the new Yammer. Then testing and choose. So opt-in is every user can choose if they use the new Yammer or the old Yammer. So with the opt-in option, so that the user can go slowly into the new UI. And out of my experience, most users switch to the new UI and don't switch back. If they switch one time, they don't switch back to the old UI, and they love the new UI. And so if you have any issues, if you use the old or the new UI for the compliance tools or for the labeling and classification of Yammer communities, no, you will see the same thing. So I don't find any issues there. Maybe there is one, but I don't find any issues in the last year of testing, and in the last 6 months, or we have 5 months of really productive testing. No, there's nothing. So testing tools and experience, adoption things, and also adoption things for the support, and also for the user, and then planning to go to new Yammer only mode, and then we have Yammer only at the end, and we are very happy, and we have it. So let's have a look. Let's have a look into Yammer, and I go out of my presentation, and you see I opened the Compliance Center and Security Center for the next demo, but I also opened the new Yammer, and here I hope everyone can see it. It's not too small. I can go a little bit. I can zoom in, and here you see here's the switch button, the opt-in option for the new and the old Yammer. If you switch, the website is reloaded, and here, for example, this is one of the my test environments, and I tested, for example, here's a legal internal group. I put in one of my pictures out of the last Seattle journey and Microsoft visiting, and added, for example, a picture. And what is for me important is this section here. You see this is an internal, a private Yammer community, and it is internal, so it's labeled with sensitivity labeling to an internal group. And one more, if you have a look at files, the website is reloading. It is reloading. Yeah, we have it. You see, for example, I started in a little bit bigger, zoom in a little bit bigger here. I started this group. This is an old group of Yammer and the old Yammer, and with the old UI and the old default storage. I started here on July 31 in 2017. I uploaded a picture, and you see here it's saved in Yammer by default. And this group make the the way from the old Yammer to the new Yammer with all of the migration of native mode and all of this. And now if I created a new file, for example, a Word file, let's say it, virtual conference. You see here, needs a little bit update. It goes to Office Online. And here you see the file, for example, is empty, and now this don't works. I need some text. No, it don't works in Office Online, one of my wishes, so you can create a little bit text. But you see it's in German, but my labels are always in English, but only one of my test labels. You see, for example, here is a sensitive labeling, and I label, for example, to data privacy. You see it's labeled by data privacy, and I go back to the UI, and you see here's the new file. It's labeled at data privacy, and this is one of the UI challenges. And what I'm missing in the SharePoint view, I will show a little bit later, you see that the file is labeled with data privacy classification, and it's labeled, and you see the label. If you have a look now, in this moment, you see here you don't see any label, and you don't see how the file is labeled and classified. That's what I wish for the next UI update, to see it and to see the file and to see the label. Oh, here. Oh, very good. That's if I wish it, and now it works. So in this view, you see, for example, here the label compliance on the document, which you don't see in the Office Online UI. Wait, I want to go to Office Online. In desktop. Yeah, desktop is okay. So I can show you the differences and show you in browser. And that is really great. The last days, and you see it if I created the file, the background and the label don't work. And yeah, here the label don't work. But in the view, and this is better than last week, you can see it, and also in the desktop app you can see it here, and here it works, for example, lorem. I need some text, so now we have some text in it, and this works in desktop with Yammer together because Office 365 groups and the SharePoint side in the background. And you see here it works also, and you can work with Office Online. And my label or my class is you see these compliance label on it as a background text field of the document. You can't see it here. This is one of the important things. You have to explain your customers. You work with different people. So you see this is Julia Meyer and that's me. So you can work together in an encrypted Word file in Yammer. So that's a really great one. That was one of the issues last year, that you can't work with encrypted files together. And now it's possible to work together in Yammer. And if you have a look, and this here, but now it works. So here only in the view mode, you see the compliance label and the labeling, but in the additional mode, yeah, there's a little issue, but you see here the label, it is Datenschutz, or in English it's data privacy. So you have the same issues in Microsoft Teams. So it's not a very special one for Yammer. But yeah, but this is a part of the challenges, and yeah, the product will note it, and it will be fixed hopefully in the next weeks, so we can, and the user can see anything. So back to files. We have here the new file experience. I hope we will get a column for retention and also for labeling. But it's possible to use and open it, for example, in your desktop app. If you open it with a mobile phone, if you use an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet like an iPad or a Samsung Galaxy tablet or whatever you want, with a mobile app it works perfectly and very stable. Because that's a typical and normal Office 365 apps like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and it was GA for this functionality at the end of last year. I have a session on Ignite last year to talk about how to use this security labeling and classification on mobile. So you can have a look at Ignite 2019 and have a look for my theater session about it. And here you see now it works also with Yammer, and it works also in the mobile app. And in the mobile app, you open the Word app in a second way, and then you see all of the labeling and all of this. So currently I recognize, okay, use the classic app or the desktop app and the mobile apps to have the best experience, but it's also possible here, and you see there's something changed. So in the view mode, you see the labels, and the adding mode, you don't see it. And here, yeah, so that's better than last week. Last week I see nothing here, so I'm a little bit surprised today. So that's a good surprise. So we have the file experience, and the file experience also, what I like is the default location is SharePoint now. And which SharePoint, I will talk you a little bit later about it. I have a graphic in the next part of the session. I have a graphic. Which SharePoint is it? Is it the SharePoint nearby you if I work in the USA, or is it your default SharePoint out of your Microsoft 365 tenant? So yeah, a sneak peek. Yeah, it's your tenant. And if you have your default tenant, it can be possible that this file, for example, I tested, and this is my test tenant is in Europe one. I have also one tested in from Germany. So my default location is in Germany for Yammer. So, or in France, it works, or in Italy. In the future, what it don't works and it's not possible is Switzerland today. So if you created Yammer Office 365 tenant in Switzerland, you don't have Yammer today. I hope in the future, and then you can store your files also in your default location and default storage location. This is really awesome. And this, the second one is here. You see, now we have a little switch here. That's something of a little bit preview today here. Private and the internal label is switching, but we will have a look at other groups, and you see here that's not everything very stable. It is internal, and you have a look at the no feedback. We have a look at the old UI, and here you see it's private and internal. And so that's if you use the old UI or the new UI, that's not the important thing. The important thing is to switch to the native mode. You can switch, and I can tell you as a very short sneak peek, you go to the admin center, and here you see the native mode, and this is one of the topics I will talk about in the next minutes. So let's go a little bit deeper in the compliance topics with Yammer, and let's start with contracts. And I have a lot of time. So contracts. This is the typical contract view out of the customer from Europe. You have the default contracts with Microsoft Ireland, in the connection of the licensing, for example, and with Microsoft Corp in connection with support. This is the same for Microsoft Teams out of Europe. It's the same for Yammer out of Europe. You have the North region, so Dublin and Amsterdam, as your data center. So, but this is a very cool thing for Yammer, because before the switching beginning in 2018, we don't have the chance that Yammer comes to Europe, and now it comes to Europe, and now it is in Europe, and now every new tenant will be by default in Europe with the Yammer environment, especially not Switzerland, and hopefully in the future this will become, and I see it on the roadmap, so also Switzerland in the future. And for Germany it's also possible to have Yammer in Dublin as a location, and this is really great. And also in the connection with the contracts, it's also possible that, and it's not possible, it is Yammer is a part of the new DPA attachment, and you always see the subcontractor. So for out of a compliance view, you have the same compliance level from Microsoft Teams and Yammer today, with a little differences in the way that we can host teams in different locations in Europe. For example, in Europe, Switzerland, France, and in the future Italy and Spain. And Yammer is only in one location, but with the GDPR and also with the European rules and laws, that's all fine. And I don't see, only a few recommendations and special industry and regulated industry that some of them needs the storage location in their default region, for example, in Germany or in Switzerland or in France. Out of your German view, that's possible if you have your default SharePoint. The default SharePoint is in your region, only the UI, but I don't want to make a big sneak peek preview. I have a slide about it. So one of the next very good compliance hints is have a look in the attachment 1 in the notice of the Microsoft Online Service Terms. And here you see Yammer is a part of the core tools. So Microsoft have to inform you 6 months before of every changes. For example, if one of the subcontractor changed, or we have significant changes in the Yammer product, but it's only, you see here, Yammer Enterprise. I can have a little bit deeper view here. You have okay, here's Yammer, and it's only for Yammer Enterprise, but with every Office 365 environment and licensing, you have Yammer Enterprise. The old Yammer standard environments are not possible today, and every of these environments are Yammer Enterprise. So if you have Yammer, you have Yammer Enterprise, and Yammer Enterprise is a part of the core tools. So that is very cool, because if it's also a part of the core tools, you have this 6-month period, and also you have Yammer is a part of EU model clauses, Privacy Shield, and the new DPA attachment, which, for example, is a more detailed way, and for example, in the part of who is recommended for which data processing, and for example, the DPA assessment you can download at aka.ms/DPA. For example, that Microsoft has their own recommendations, and it's the main data processor for licensing, for processing with personal data in a combination with licensing and payment and all of this, and the rest is partly, out of my view, joint controllership, and also a part of it is a part of the customer as itself. So let's have a look a little bit forward. If you want to download it, you see the link. Okay, I'm a little bit too fast here, and it don't works. So have a look at Yammer native mode. The Yammer native mode now, that belongs together, now grows together. Microsoft decided that with the native mode and as a migration process, you migrate fully into the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 environment and the fully background. Before you have this option to enforce Azure AD and enforce Office 365 groups. Yeah, this was more an enforcement. The part was a special Yammer UI, and the part was Office 365 storage, but with the native mode, everything is Microsoft 365 and a part of Microsoft 365. And we have also the default storage, and we have all of the compliance tools that is also recommended for Teams, for example, is also recommended for Yammer today. And if you have a look at the Yammer native mode, you see it a little bit in my first demo. You see here is possible the native mode, and you have a look, for example, that you have the enforcement here. Wait, next one I want to show you. You have the enforcement of Azure AD and also the Office 365 groups. Not 7-day testing, so enforcement, yes, committed enforcement. So you have a look a little bit at your external guests and at your users, that all of your users are Azure AD connected and has a licensing for Yammer. You can log out. This is very helpfully these options that you can log out, and then you see if you have any troubles with some users, for example. And then here, this is one of the old ways you can do this configuration in 2018, but today it's one of the pre-configuration for the Yammer native mode, and I say it's are turned connected groups, so Office 365 or Microsoft 365 groups are connected now. And then you have a look at this wizard to users under a situation. Okay, no network guests, so all is fine. And you see here the report of my test tenant. And it works, everything group is fine, the files, everything is fine, the network configuration is fine. And then I started the switch to the native mode. I have to type in my name and also my address, because there's no way back. So if you start with native mode, you can't go back. There's no option, and also we have support. I try it for one of the customers. Oh, I have to go back. I say, no, we don't go back. I can ask, but we don't go back, because with the native mode you get the e-discovery capabilities, for example, out of the Security and Compliance Center. It's highly recommended to use this tool to secure your environment. At the end, it is a tool for if something happened, you can use e-discovery to extract the information out of Yammer. Before all of this in the old world, you have to use the content mode in Yammer and then to download it everything in a CSV file and have a look manually. So no, don't do it. Switch to migrate to native mode, and you see here this is switching, and I switched to the native mode, and you see here at first there's only the test group, and I'm missing all company, and a little bit later, and then I make a screenshot. Here is also the group all company and all the general group, and I see here there's the Office 365 group you see before. But if you have a look a little bit deeper, you see that SharePoint will be one of the default storages, and have a look a little bit here about the links and information about e-discovery in native mode. It's a little bit tricky if you have an old Yammer environment, Yammer environment that you work a lot with a lot of customers and externals and all of this. That's a little bit tricky to switch and migrate to native mode, but it's possible. I did it for 60,000 people company, and it works at the end, and works really great. So let's have a look. I have a lot of slides, but I'm switching to a little bit to data privacy because that's what everyone wants to know. So no demo this way. This is a way of certification and data privacy of Yammer from 2014 to 2019. And I have a slide from 2019 to 2020 also. That's the next one. Here you see, for example, the Geo storage are new, and it's the messages are also stored in the Geo. So we have, for example, also at the end of here in 2019 and 2014, we have, for example, Safe Harbor and the ISO certificate, because the data center moved from the other the other data centers to Azure and to Microsoft. I don't have to talk about the old ones, so let's have a look in the future. So you see here from 2019 to the future, we have migration, geo storage, compliance, and communication compliance at the end. So you see a big journey in the view out of compliance to Yammer. And today, what we have the certificates. Check. We have contracts, core tool, EU model clauses. Check. We have data locations in Europe and SharePoint region, SharePoint location in your region. Check. Everything fine. And you have the compliance tools. The next demo is about these compliance tools and have a little bit deeper view. I have only 10 minutes. Yeah, that's okay. But I will show you at first, before the demo, what you have to check on the contract way. So you need a contract with your internals, for example, a work contract, the terms of use, how to use Yammer, and you have to talk with your data privacy council and the working council about it, how to use Yammer. And for example, with conditional access, you can combine it with Yammer, and then you can push your contracts, your terms of use, with the functionality of terms of use and conditional access to Yammer. So if someone logged into Yammer, he has or she has to sign the terms of use and then get access to Yammer. The same with MFA, and that's what I like with conditional access. So you can automatically design a process with conditional access and Yammer together. With external, I recognize also an NDA. This is a part of the work contract for internal, but for external, NDA, terms of use, and MFA. For me, is of a technical view, is MFA, and the control of in and external. If you have an
Sorry to interrupt, Raphael.
Yeah.
I seem to be having a problem with your presentation. Could you stop sharing your presentation and then share it again from the same slide? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I can restart the sharing. That's not the problem. Stop sharing and restart the sharing with the right screen. So presenting. If you see something, please say yes. I see some great heroes fighting against the fire. Then we are on the right slide. Perfectly.
Yep, it's working again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a slide with the most of the technical organizational measures you can configure to be compliant with Yammer. And I recommend, yes, to use everything. There are some you can decide. For example, here you have IRM for SharePoint library. That works. But for me, use sensitivity labeling, you don't need IRM. I show you in the demo before. You can classify the document in Yammer, see it in the Yammer storage, Yammer storage in SharePoint. For me, this is the Yammer storage now because it's general GA. And you can use IRM, you can use IRM and sensitivity labeling, but for me, you don't need it. Use sensitivity labeling. It's enough, and labeling of the Yammer community, and it works. And in the end, audit and use conditional access with zero trust, for example, for terms of use, MFA and NDA and all of this. Have a look a little bit in the architecture deep dive. This was 2018, the old one, and now switch to Europe. We have the European location, and you see here, yes, everything is hosted, included the UI in Europe. Everything is hosted based on Azure in Europe. So if we switch back, you see here there we have the architecture when we started to enforce Office 365 groups and Azure AD. There's a part in Europe and a part in the US. And now we're switching to a native mode and migrate to native mode. You see everything is in Europe. With MFA, there's part of MFA is in US, okay? That's what we all know, but if we have a look only on Yammer, everything is in Yammer. And then we compare it, and you see here what I show you in the demo. We have the legal internal. You see on the left side the private and internal mark and label, and you see it on the right side, the private internal. Why I lose the internal? I think this is a bug in Yammer we found in the demo, but this is highly recommended to go to the new Yammer. It's clearer. I like the modern label view and also the heart nearby the group that you can favorite this Yammer community. So this is highly recommended. So it's the secures and compliance Yammer we have in the last 10 years. From the beginning on. And if we have a look, what you have to do, you have to define Yammer administrator using MFA, have a look at the contracts, like I showed you before, activate Office 365 group and the Yammer native mode so that you get all of the informations and activate the new Yammer. And then you have also all of the compliance tools included. Communication compliance, and this is what I want to show you before. That was the old view of labeling groups with PowerShell, but you don't need it today because you have sensitivity labeling and have these new tools. And let's have a look at these new tools. I hope it works. Yeah, it works. It's switching to the overview of the compliance tools in condition with Yammer. And you see, for example, it's only an extract. It's not a slide with all of the tools. It's only an extract, for example, pre-active with sensitivity labeling. You have DLP, you have MFA with conditional access, you have retention labeling on a pre-active way. Then you have on an active way communication compliance. We'll have a look at your communication in the Yammer communities and the chat messengers, and also in the one-to-one chat messengers. You have auto labeling with sensitivity labeling. You have MCAST, for example, with alerts and all of this. And the last one, you have the reactive compliance tools like e-discovery, content search, and also GDPR dashboard that works. And if we have a little deeper look in two of these tools, is for example, conditional access. I make screenshots for you. That's a little bit easier. You see here, you can select a cloud app. You can at first select a group, or you can select all of your company, then select Yammer, or you can select guests and combine it, all guest accounts in your environment, and then select it with Yammer. And then you have all of the conditions you know from Office 365 with location, platforms, user sign-in risks. If you have E5, combine it with identity protection. So Yammer is today, after the native mode migration and activating the new Yammer, which is at first only the UI. So the mainly thing is native mode. Then you have all of these conditions, which just don't work. We don't have, and this is one of my wishes, the baseline policies and conditional access required for MFA for admins. There is no Yammer admin. So for the Yammer admins, you have to define your own condition, and what's not possible, you can make a condition not only for one single Yammer group or one single Yammer community. That's possible for SharePoint. Yes, for a single SharePoint in Yammer. That's possible from next month. It's in preview, or in preview right now, but at next month it will be GA. So that is possible to make a condition with terms of use and MFA, for example, on a SharePoint, but not on a Yammer community. I hope it will be available in the future. So this is one of the great things. And
sorry to interrupt again, Raphael. We're getting no, we got the screens. We just we're getting close to the top of the hour, and we need to get the next presenter lined up and ready to go. So can I ask you to wrap up, please, if you can?
Yep.
Thank you.
I can, and I have the last slide. And I have this last slide as an overview, and this is the last slide. So thank you very much. I'm in time that you see here some screenshots also of my environment and also out of the console environment you can create via the dev tenant. And you see here you have e-discovery, and also with e-discovery you can search for a single chat message and a single message in Yammer, and it's GA today. It started in 2019, at the end of 2019, but today it's GA and it works. So at the end, you will have a look at my, this is not, have a look at my, where's my, here, yes, my Yammer environment, and have a look at the end at Yammer. So yes, at the final question, and I switch back to the new Yammer mode. And the final question is, can I use Yammer in Europe in a compliant way? For 99%, yes, it's possible. And the only and last thing I want to say, and you have to mention and a little bit care of it, are the GIFIs. Most of the company deactivate the GIFIs. I know that's not the best experience for the users, but you have to look here. It's powered by Tenor, it's not Microsoft, and you have your own contract and your own view, and the principle of fair to use also of USA, which is not comparable with the copyright law in Europe. So if I use, for example, these GIFI in my group, I need a copyright and I need a contract with Tenor. You can try, and this is what I try in this moment, to get contracts with Tenor. Tenor is not a subcontractor, so this is a feature you have to be care of it if you want to use it or not in a part of the risk management. And now I'm ready. If anyone has question, please feel free to contact me. Please feel free to use my email, and feel free to contact me. And this is my really last one. And then we can start with the next session and the next presenter. And thank you very much all of you and all of your attendance. So bye-bye.